Has this ever happened to you? What's the English word for inu? Ah, yes. D-O-G. Okay, good. But how do you pronounce it? What's the word? Oh, well, that seems absurd. That was the situation I found myself in this morning when I could remember how to write the word for conceal, but couldn't for the life of me remember what that word was in Japanese or how to say it, which is a very strange and frustrating situation to find yourself in. So I wanted to talk about this briefly because I actually find it rather interesting. For those who don't know, Japan has three different writing systems. Hiragana, no, I don't want to download no file. Um, Hiragana is basically their phonetic writing system. You can consider it similar to the alphabet. They also have katakana, which is very much identical, but same sounds, different symbols. And it's used for specific things like loan words, onomatopoeia, sometimes store names, emphasis, but it's more or less operates identically. And then there's the last one, which is kanji. Kanji is Chinese characters, more or less, that have been borrowed. Some have been changed over time. This is supposedly a list of the 3,000 most used kanji. Um, Kanji are complicated, and each one sort of has its own meaning and own numerous pronunciations. That makes them rather difficult to learn, and there's multiple approaches. The approach I used was to not learn the readings and not learn how to write it. Only focus on whatever meaning you have associated with it using key terms. This is so that you get very good quickly at recognizing kanji, which is helpful in a lot of cases. It lets you jump into reading a bit quicker, but it can make things a little complicated. For one, the key term you learn for a kanji is not always necessarily what that kanji actually means. And two, it means when you see a word you don't know, um, you may have no idea of how to pronounce it, even if you can derive the meaning from looking at its kanji or from understanding the context. So I have a couple examples of that actually. So first, here's a kanji page just to sort of show what I'm talking about. There's the meaning up here, location, place. Kun and on list different pronunciations. So ba, jol, chol. And then here's like stroke order, how to write it. I really only focused on learning the key term, like location and place. The idea being that I would pick up pronunciations from learning vocab. So this has also led to an interesting situation where, for example, I'll be out and about and I will see things like this. And there's a word up here written in kanji, and I recognize all of the kanji used in it. The first kanji is the kanji for, I know it as for parking. The second is car, and the third is location. Um, I can assume from this that this is talking about a parking lot. However, I have no idea how to pronounce this word or what this word is. I can make some guesses because I know some words that use the second and third kanji. For example, the kanji for car is also used in train, densha. So I know sha is a possible pronunciation for it. And that third kanji is used in kojo. So I know Joel is a possible pronunciation for that. However, I also know that like this kanji is used in bashol, so it could be ba. Um, it gets difficult. So looking at this, like maybe it's sha. I don't know, shaba. I have no idea. Um, Looking it up, I can see it is chu shajol. So that makes sense. But without looking it up, I have no idea how to pronounce this thing. Which is rather weird feeling. When I came to Japan with a couple friends, they would constantly point at things and be like, "Oh, what does that say? What does that say?" Say it in Japanese, and I can't. I have no idea. I know what the meaning is, but presumably, but I don't know the vocabulary. Um, which is really strange. And it also leads to things like this morning where I go and I can write it, but I don't recall the auditory portion. I don't recall the pronunciation, which is absolutely strange. And I feel like there's not anything like that in English. If you can spell dog, you can make a pretty good guess onto how to pronounce dog, right? Um, more or less. There are some weird pronunciations and words in English, but more or less you have a pretty solid jumping off point. The only languages that are like that I know of are the kanji portion of Japanese, Chinese, which is where kanji came from, and like Egyptian hieroglyphs. It's super strange. So you may have found yourself asking during this video, uh, why even keep using kanji? Why not just use the alphabets? And that's a fair question. I've asked it myself. Kanji does have its uses. Frankly, I prefer the language with it. Trying to read without kanji is an absolute nightmare. What you can see here is two sentences, exactly the same. Bottom one is written using kanji. For one, kanji can shorten a sentence. Not always, but it can. Two is if a word is using kanji, typically it starts with kanji, which means that as you're reading through a sentence, you can sort of see where the word breaks are, since there's no spaces in Japanese. So you go, okay, kanji, not kanji. Kanji again, okay, well, this is separate from this now. And another not kanji, so this is likely going to be separate from whatever was here. So that's also very helpful. The other thing that's super helpful for kanji is Japanese, sort of by just the product of the way its writing system is set up, has a lot of words that sound identical or nearly identical. But especially when written, if written just in their alphabet system, it basically looks identical. Here I've searched for ite, and this is what's come up. To conjugated versions of verbs to get in, to say, to go, whatever to set beyond the western horizon means, to need, to do up, to parch. If you just had ite written like this, you'd have no idea which one it meant without context. And sometimes context isn't always available, especially on like store signs or, quick notes or even like text messages, really. Context is not always going to be fully available to you. And without kanji, it kind of leaves you a little bit confused. Another way that kanji is helpful, even though I've painted this as a problem in this video, is the fact that I can look at a word like what was on that building and make a good guess as to what it means. Even if I don't know the vocab word, that's actually really helpful. There have been plenty of, say, danger signs or like, hey, warning or any other such thing where even if I don't know the vocab word, just based on the kanji, I can understand generally the message they're trying to get across. And that's super helpful. So yeah, that's I just thought it was very interesting because there's nothing like it in English. It's kind of a unique issue. So I just wanted to talk about it. Peace.